Welcome to our 20th book of the Bible, the book of Micah. As in, I'm so excited. I can't believe that we have made it this far. And by God's grace, we will make it to the very end. Now, Micah is the shortened version of the name Micaiah. Now, we've heard that name before, not to be confused by the prophet Micaiah that prophesied during the reign of King Ahab. This Micaiah, prophesied during the reign of kings Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, around the same time that Isaiah was prophesying as well. Isaiah spoke to the rulers, while Micah spoke to the general population. Now, God's pronouncement that Judah was no better than Israel must have come as a shock to them, because the people of Judah at the time believed that they were enjoying God's perpetual favor because of the covenant that he had with David. Micah called the people out on the same sins that Isaiah did. So it was basically the same thing, which talked of like an alignment, because two prophets were basically saying the same thing. After Micah concluded his first calamity announcement, he added that a shepherd king will protect and gather the remnant of the people. After God had dealt with his people, both in Jerusalem and Israel, he'll restore them to enjoy his best. Although they had sinned, his love and commitment to them was unchanging. They would never cease to be his children. The rulers of Judah took bribes, and the priests ministered for profit, and prophets prophesied for pay during this day. And the prophets' gifts would have been taken from them as severe judgment for the nation. So imagine a nation with no prophets, with no true priests. It just shows how, bad things had really gotten. Micah predicted that the people of Judah would go into captivity in Babylon, but the Lord would deliver and redeem the remnant from their enemies. This happened over a century later. Even though Jerusalem escaped destruction by the Assyrians, as we'll come to see, they fell into the hands of the Babylonians as predicted. Chapter 5 speaks of the coming Messiah. By predicting the new king from Bethlehem, Micah was invoking the covenant God made with David in 2 Samuel 7. This prophecy in chapter 5 verse 2 speaks was quoted centuries later in answer to the wise men regarding Jesus Christ and where he was born. And you can see more about that in Matthew 2, 1 to 6. Micah spoke of a king, Jesus, who would come with such greatness and strength, with power that reached the ends of the earth. He would return to Israel, the remnant of Israel. But God wouldn't only stop at redeeming the remnant, he would use them to bless all the other nations. 30 years after Jesus' death, Jerusalem was destroyed, and the Romans were the ones who did that. And then the disciples and all the children of Israel were scattered around the nations, and thereby spreading the gospel to those nations, because wherever they went to, they took the message of the gospel and of Christ and Christianity to those places. So you see how sometimes some things that seem like they're destruction or they're meant for bad turns around for good, and that actually just buttresses the prophecy that Micah had made. And this was about 70 AD that it happened. Lots of these prophecies have been fulfilled. This teaches us something about prophecies. That sometimes you hear about them and you think, and I know that this happens to me, something I'm guilty of. I think that it's in the immediate. I think that the prophecy is going to happen the next day or the next week or the next month. But here we see prophets of God prophesying about the Messiah that wouldn't come until centuries later, 600-700 years later. But it didn't stop the things they were saying from being true. So it's something that I'm taking away, to hear prophecies, listen to them, and take them, with wisdom. Just ask God for revelation, but not believe that it's happening immediately. But that doesn't mean we should be lazy, because I think that's what happened with the people of Israel, because they were thinking, oh, these guys are just going on and on. We haven't seen any of these things happen, and they eventually come to pass. In chapter 6, Micah circles back to the Lord's case against Israel. starting by reminding them of God's mighty acts during the Exodus. He repeats much of what Isaiah had prophesied regarding Israel's guilt and punishment, and ends with God's requirement for his people in 6:8. Now that is one of the most popular verses in Isaiah, where it says, and what does the Lord want from you is to act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. And that was all he just wanted from his people. And I guess it's the same thing that he still wants with us today. Micah had seen the destruction of Israel, and he knew the destruction of Jerusalem was coming in this time. Now here's what I learned about God from reading the chapters in the books of Micah. God's greatness, and not anyone's own, not even ours, is where our greatness and peace and security come from. When God increases, we decrease. That's where we'll find our greatest joy. Micah said it like this in 5:4-5. He will stand and shepherd his flock in the strength of the Lord, in the majesty of his name, and in the majesty of the name of his God, and they will have security, for then his greatness will reach to the ends of the earth, and he will be their peace. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope you've learned a lesson or two from the prophetic book of Micah. Tomorrow we'll go back to the stories of the kings. I will be sharing from 2 Chronicles 28 and reading that side by side, 2 Kings 16-17. Looking forward to seeing you here. Have a good day. Bye.